And then I'd like to do a second plate litho, if we can, doing like CMYK or some sort of computer generated imagery. And then Mokolito plate, I think, would be fun to do. So 4 is ideal. I doubt we're going to get through 4 though.
I'm coming up with my concept of that time.
So we wrap it in saran wrap. And when you're done, you're going to wrap it. You can use the same piece of saran wrap. If you need new, there's new plates. There's a box out over there. Set that out of the way. Okay. I'm going to move on over. And we need to scrape this leather roller.
Scrape it.
So, use this. It's usually at one station. I don't have one right now. Charlie, I might be borrowing some brawny later.
Okay.
I'll replace it though.
Okay. How about for the video?
Cool. Yeah, I'll still replace it though. I'm gonna go through a lot. Lithotrene. So there's some old stuff on it. I just want to get that off. So lithotrene is just like mineral spirits.
That thing's my best friend in the painting studio.
I know. Okay. So when you choose a roller, we need these leather handles. And so you just want to test them on, they fit differently on each one of the leather rollers. So, and there's one over, the one up top there, the handles that are on it are the only handles that work for it. But there's usually handles floating around too. But you just want to make sure that it's nice and smooth rotation. And what I'm doing is kind of like gripping and spinning, so there's no, yeah, and then grip and spin from the other way. So you just kind of get used to doing that motion when you're rolling. And if it's really gummed up, just take a little lithotrene and a rag and just, sometimes ink gets in there and it clogs it up, makes it so it's not very smooth. You can also dust it, powder, a little talc in there is good. So you can see this old ink, we have to get that off. Traditionally what you would do is just take it and you stick it in your, like, one of your thigh here. But I like just doing it in the roller casing. It's a lot easier. So you're gonna flex your handle like that, your spatula. And then rotate it. And flip my handle, my spatula. So it gets little bits. Wanna try? And you want to kind of pull it right up to you, like use your perfect. A little bit more of an angle where it's straight up and down. So a little bit more. Yes, you have to and still flex it. Yep, perfect. You're not picking up very much because, you know, I use this roller and it's a consistent roller, but sometimes people forget and sometimes they over ink on it. They have too much ink on their slab, and so the ink really does build up. When I got this roller up there was a quarter of an inch of ink on it just from years and years. The lady never cleaned it once. Taking anything off?
Not much.
And that's it. It's ready.
What about these edges?
They've built up over the years. A lot of it is the nap of the leather. Yeah, if anything that we need to remove, it'll show up on that slab. Okay, so we're gonna mix our inks now, and so Print Black and 1796.
Doing a second edge.
We are doing a second match, but we have to replace the drawing material. So all the grease has been spent from that drawing material, and so we need to replace it with ink now. And so we've got two different kinds. The crayon black is the most important ink.
So you actually got to ink it twice.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna mix up inks. You wanna grab that doodad?
This doodad?
GoPro. Yeah.
Oh.
The GoPro. I'm just gonna bring it over here.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know that stone has like a crack in it? And it's filing and it cuts off like a crack? It's still on the edge, so it's not gonna affect my image.
Is it the round?
You know that, the little stone that has like, the one I use for my, I can't, the image is smaller on this one, so it's not gonna be an issue, but I just wanna let you know that happened.
Okay. So we've got crayon black. This is a really stiff ink. And we've got 1796. That's a really loose ink. So we want to mix them about 50-50. And it's all about consistency with the ink. Inks with litho are really important. The consistency really affects the way that it prints. And watch how I'm pulling it out. Notice I'm not gouging. I'll show that for the camera, I think. You can see in there.
It's pretty black.
Yeah. And I want to get as much ink as I can, as I need for printing a full edition. I'm not printing my edition today, so I'm not going to use a whole lot. But generally 50-50. And it's a small stone. It just depends on how dark your image is, your stone is. You know, the darker it is, the more ink you're going to use up. The size of the stone, the size of the paper, all that stuff. So this is it's kind of reaching the end of it, and you can see there's a skin over it. So the skin is like basically on the bottom now, but I just want to reach underneath to the good stuff.
Kind of like oil paint.
Yeah. The skins are interesting though, because the skins develop on inks differently based on grease content. So like they make these really beautiful patterns in some of them. So that's good. That's a good start. There's other things that we would modify inks with also, like Setswell compound is used if you are doing multiple layers of ink. So you would add just a little pea-sized or half pea-sized bit of Setswell, and that just allows ink to set well on other ink. Right? It's kind of like, it's got a texture of Vaseline. There's probably the most common modifier for your ink is your number 3 varnish, and this just kind of like your varnishes range from number 1 to number 7. Actually, number 0 to number probably goes up to 9 or something like that. But the lower the number, the stiffer it makes your ink. So the higher number ones, like 7, 5, those are really loose, right? So they make your ink really soupy. And the higher the numbers makes your ink more stiff. So like stiff and tacky, so it sticks well. And we want the ink to stick well to our paper.
Does that change the glossiness too? Because that's what I think of when I think of varnish.
I don't think so. No.
So
this is kind of like this is kind of the binder for, you know, if you think of linseed oil, you know, it's kind of like the linseed oil. It won't change the opacity or anything like that. The other thing is gum, body gum, and it's at one of these locations, but it's a can, and it just says body gum, and it's like a really, really stiff varnish, and sometimes it's good to just like take a little bit of that and put it in your inks. All inks are different with colored inks. That's why we have so many modifiers. It's because my yellow ink is going to be really soupy. I need to really give it some body. Another thing is that body gum. You can see it's kind of nice, right? But it's like, you know, it's real stiff.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So getting it, like, cans, I hate these designs. Like, I don't know why we're still using these old cans. You can't open them up. That stuff is designed to stick.
I remember you were like, there's no good way to pour out of these cans. I found the good way. You have to take your container.
Oh yeah. But like, it's still a pain in the butt.
But
if there's like a little funnel on it or something, that you could attach to it would be nice. And then this is magnesium carbonate. So there's a couple of properties of ink. There's body, tack, and length. You know, so, and I'll show you those right now. So if I've got my 1796 ink, which is loose, right? You can see how it kind of drips down. That's the body. So you can see how this retains its shape.
Yeah.
Whereas this one kind of folds down. So I want about 50-50. And so I'm going to mix those together. You don't have to modify your black inks very much. It's usually just 50-50. And if you don't have the 1796, the loose stuff, just use the number 3 varnish. So crayon black and number 3 varnish is all you need. And I haven't been able to buy as much inks because they're like $50 a pop. So that's, I'm taking it for granted. The way that I'm mixing my ink, you've seen me mixing it before too, I'm sure. But you just want to kind of contain it, you know, don't spread it all over. There's no reason to spread it all over. So just kind of this is the motion that I've always been doing. Kind of down, squish it. And I don't know, it's second nature to me. You want to try
It's
it?
kind of the same thing I do with mixing oil. Yeah.
Okay. And then, so once I'm done and I mix it pretty well, I just want to do that and check the body. I want it to settle, but I want it to not pool, totally pool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good.
Want to keep it in the blob.
Yeah. I'd rather typically, like if I have a high detail image, my ink, I might want a stiffer ink, because stiffer ink will less likely go into non-image areas. If my ink is too loose and my image is really dark, my ink is gonna all wanna just fill in on itself and lose like delicate darks. So it's kind of a delicate balance with figuring out the body of your ink. I generally go a little bit looser. I think I've erred on the side of caution for years and years and years, making my ink extra stiff, and then I struggle and struggle and struggle to get a good black, and I waste a lot of paper. I'm done doing that now, and
Experimenting now.
I'm just going for like a good consistency always now. And this, like I can tell already, this is pretty good. It's a good consistency. And then I want to check the length by doing this. So just make the pool. And then I want to check the length like right here, not right here, right there. And see how it kind of sticks up a little bit, but not super long. So this is called a short ink because those little things are relatively short. Now a long ink will look like this.
Gotcha.
But here, where I do it here. So that's good. If I need to shorten an ink, instead of getting out more inks, I can just add a little mag carb, and this just increases the body.
Isn't that like highly flammable?
Magnesium carbonate?
Yeah. Or is it just magnesium?
I think it's just magnesium.
Okay.
Rosin is highly flammable
Okay.
though. So like that stuff. So if it was too long, I could just sprinkle in some, work it in, and I usually do like 2 kind of shakers, like shake, 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 and then mix it, and then shake, 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 mix it, and then check the length again, see what it's like. So this reduces tack, makes it less sticky, but it also increases the body. So
It's kind of like adding fiber to it.
yeah. And this, so these are 2 pretty important ones. Body gum increases body, increases tack, makes it more sticky. This increases body, makes it less tacky. So like if I had,
So that's just kind of like adding honey to it.
kind of, like it'll literally just make it more sticky.
Yeah.
If I add too much of this, my paper will want to stick to my stone, and the ink won't want to release. And sometimes if I have really soft paper, it'll tear the paper. So you want to just use this sparingly. But there are times when if the ink is not coming off of your stone onto your paper, you might want to add some of this because it'll increase the tack a lot. Most of these problems don't happen until like, you're doing colors and things like that. So this ink is ready to go. And I'm just gonna take a bead like that. And I'm gonna do a drawdown. So see it's upright, and then I'm gonna flex it. And I'm gonna do the same. Most people start with 2 stripes. I just want to put it in a different position each time. See how it's a little ridge there? So let's move that out. You want to try? Do another one like right here maybe? Or you could do an X, whatever. We just want it in a different position. Good. And I usually don't go right to the edge of the slab. I usually keep it like close to that. We could do one more. I usually do a little bit more than most people probably do to start with. Especially when it's a fresh stone and a fresh roller. Nope, not that way, because it would build up extra ink that way. You could do either this or another one that way. Okay. Okay. So now we need to roll it out, and so that's when this kind of stuff gets real handy. So I'm gonna go up and back, lift, twist. Up and back, lift, twist.
Because you're not trying to put the ink back down.
Yep, if I do this, the ink's not gonna be redistributed. It's gonna stay in the same spot. So that's just a little twist. Helps to just do the same. And I do the same thing when I'm inking my stone too. Want to try? Hey there. Potato.
No, thank you very much.
God, there. Keto potato salad with cauliflower. Does that sound good?
Ew.
I love cauliflower.
I do too, but I'm getting sick of it.
Yeah, I bet.
Cauliflower.
Love cauliflower wings, but
Burrito bowl, cauliflower.
what about quinoa? Is quinoa not keto?
No.
Dang.
Is that good?
That's wet.
Looks pretty good. Yeah.
Quinoa.
And then if you see little things like
That's the
this,
most precious
just drop
seeds
them
I've
out.
ever in my life.
And I didn't show you that either, but when the ink was good, but if I see little bumps and stuff
Every time she
like that,
sneezed, her head would
take
go
those
like
out
that.
too.
Like involuntarily. She banged her head on
So,
the desk and got it.
that can go there. Okay, and before we start, we'll take a photo just so you have a reference of all the materials that you need. So, put the stone over here.
I don't know what's happening.
Oh my God, I woke up at, I actually got out of bed for 7, but I had to woke up at like 6:30.
Trying to get the water.
Already making so much money. They were like, oh, it's, on Sunday, I tried to sleep in, so I got home from work at 11:30.
Yeah.
And something was 9, so I got 7 in the morning.
Need
and I was like,
asphaltum.
2 hours ago. Then last night it sounded like they were literally building furniture and rearranging it. It was terrible.
Thanks for being prepared, Charlotte.
Yo, when everyone, he's giving me like a bunch of stuff.
Well, last semester I didn't get enough stuff, so I just took all the stuff they brought.
So, I would take a snapshot of all this stuff, just so you have it.
Follow the edges of the other one. And then I can actually start drawing. And it just, I can work when they're working in print one. But I'm not gonna bring this big stove in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So what, yeah, what
paper towel.
do you want, like,
I'm gonna get my paper towels ready. So we've gotten our supplies. It's a lot of the same stuff as last time, but then a little bit different. And we've gotten our inks prepared, so we'll have to talk about inks later. But I need to make some pads, so this is why I want to have a nice paper towel, like a Brawny or a Bounty or something like that.
Top shelf.
Mm-hmm. And it's true, you really do want this one. You don't want shitty one. You can use like t-shirts for pads. So fold in the
I
corners.
was just curious, because like, I don't know, sometimes
Fold in the corners again.
it's hard to get done and stuff. So
Yeah.
if you had a choice, what would you
Nice
do?
little pad. And we want at least 3.
Like, professor at college or a curator or art director.
Our directors can stay.
Yeah, but there's like so few of them.
Okay.
This.
This.
Art therapy is just more like the stability option.
Like, if you're willing to move to like Syracuse, they're having like 3 art therapists right now.
Ah,
So.
well, that's
Yeah, I know. They're
And
probably gonna continue. Like,
I need
it's more
lithotrine
common
yeah.
and asphaltum.
now. Kind of like ones that pick all the sun and show them some.
So I've got the drawing material in here right now. And the last thing we did was we buffed it down with gum arabic, right? So there's a protective gum layer. So this is the most stable a stone can be. I have a gum layer protecting the non-image areas, and I have the drawing material protecting the drawing areas, the greasy areas.
I thought you didn't need one because of the first touch.
Yeah.
It's still there though, right now. There's still drawing material there. So that's the best condition that the stone can be in. I'm going to remove the drawing material, but the gum arabic is going to remain where it is.
And then you're replacing the drawing material with that.
Yep, and removing the gum layer. So I always have to have one or the other. I either have to have my drawing material there or the gum arabic
Because
layer.
that's how you keep the borders.
Yeah. So like if I add water to this right now, I lose the gum arabic, right? But I still have my drawing. And then I can reapply a gum layer and buff it down, and then I have both again. Or I can remove my drawing material with lithotrine, which is oil-based, right? Not water-soluble, and remove the drawing material. And then I can replace the drawing material as long as there's still gum border there. If I accidentally remove both of those things,
You don't have an image.
you're screwed.
Yeah.
And it happens. Like, it happened to me on my first litho. So it does happen. So I want asphaltum. This is rosin, asphaltum, petroleum gas,
I don't know, it's hard, cause you get that.
nice, yummy stuff, right? It's basically like, it's got tar in it, it's all sorts of good stuff. And lithotrine. I don't want water yet.
It's cool, cause you keep them in the
Okay, I'm gonna take some paper towels, and I'm gonna use the lithotrine to remove my drawing. So this is the moment of truth. I don't want to scrub, I just want to kind of lightly go over.
Stone shit. It's on the corner, but edge, I mean. No.
If I don't have lithotrine, I can use mineral spirits. Do not use wet wash. Okay. Wet wash is water and mineral spirits together. Major malfunction. If there's something catastrophic happens to your stone, we can use it.
Catastrophic, like you drop it and break it?
No, like
you lose
if
information?
your image goes completely black
Oh.
and we need to do a wet wash out. We can use it. Got a little stubborn area right there. If it doesn't want to come up, don't worry about it. You know, try to get the majority of it. Some of your tush washes might be real
You're
stubborn.
looking at a reference on your phone? Yeah. When did you usually do it on that?
Oh, it's too late now.
I
So what I don't want to do now is sponge my
I'm
stone.
committed to this photo. I'm
Ah.
not gonna fucking
Because that would remove everything. Okay, so I'm gonna take one of my pads here and asphalt them. You can just pour it directly on the stone, but you want basically like, depending on the size of your stone, like a $half size.
Consistency that I there. That's something.
You get to play with lots of fun stuff.
It's like flubber.
It's also tempting to touch.
So I don't want to leave my stone in that shape. Notice how I'm spreading it out, trying to get it evenly spread out. I can thin that down with ligatine if I need to, if it's too thick, but it's still pretty good. Little too much.
10:15 or 10:50?
Okay.
Okay. I have a headphone in, so it's pretty good.
That's fine. I said it.
Oh, yeah.
To try. I don't know. Don't mind me. I'm just so weird.
You're really brave going up with gloves on.
I have these gloves with this.
Are you supposed to?
No, you don't have to.
But
I should anyway. I feel.
I feel I'm gonna get some on my hands and I'm gonna have to go to the park to wash it and skin myself.
Oh, don't do that. Stuff's even worse.
I know. I did it yesterday on accident. I was washing out some jars. I looked like an elephant after.
So you can see it's totally buff dry, and it's not catching. You know, if it was catching, if it was too light, I could do a second application. You want it to be even though. If it's not even, maybe get some more. Put it in a cup. Mix in a little bit of ligatine if it's too thick, and try that. But it's generally good out of these cans.
To go full watercolor with tar, basically.
And what's that doing again?
I just removed my drawing material.
Yeah.
This is super greasy, and it hardens. There's rosin in here that hardens into my stone, and it creates a nice stable base to put ink on it.
Okay.
So that I'm just creating a nice stable base to replace my ink. So I'm done with my ligatine, and now I'm going to switch to my water. Grab those water bowls. Thank you.
It's an asphalt imprimatura.
Oh,
I'm done
don't
with
even
my
use
paper
that
towels.
word around me.
Okay, so I've got a clean sponge and a dirty sponge. I'm going to use my dirty sponge. A generous amount of water. So we had a gum layer, and I removed the drawing. Then I just replaced the drawing with asphaltum. And so I went back to having both layers of my stone. And
Getting rid of the gum layer.
yep, you can see the gum lifting up. And that's lifting up the asphaltum that is on top of it, but it's leaving the asphaltum where the drawing was.
Whoa. That's kind of blowing my mind.
Let it again, lots of water. Try not to get like all pools of water. We don't want water like all over the place on the press bed. You want to try and contain it. And then if I had like really greasy handprints and stuff on my border, I would now see those fingerprints.
Would you be able to get them out?
Yeah.
Would it just be like plating light or something?
We could sandpaper. Yeah, we can just hone it out real quick, or use an anti-tint solution. I'll show you that too. Flooding. I'm not scrubbing, right? If there's stubborn areas, then I can do what would be called a snappy sponging, light and snappy. That helps pick up some of the asphaltum. You can see it's still in a couple of these areas. It's fine, it'll come up. So I'm gonna switch from my dirty bowl of water, dirty sponge, to my clean sponge now. And I don't want a lot of water, so this is, now I'm sponging it like I'm getting ready to print it. And I sponge it the same way while I'm printing, it never really changes. So, still trying to get that up a little bit. But you can see there's like very little water in my sponge, right? Now I want to show you okay. See this stuff? Standing water? It's too wet. See all the standing water on it?
No.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're trying to get at the level of the.
Yeah. See all the little beads of water on it?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So that's too much water. When I
I
sponge,
think it was just new you and
I want it to look like that.
Cause I feel, it's kind of feeling awkward right now, cause no one's talking to me anymore,
Oh, they don't want you anymore?
No, it's like, wait, I reached out to all of you and
Are you doing English? Like,
Yeah.
I was fine clicking.
Okay, so notice the stone is starting to dry. The temperature affects the stone a lot. Humidity affects the stone a lot. You know, if it's humid, it'll store more water. If it's real dry and sunny, you know, if the sun's coming right down on the stone, it's gonna dry
Ooh,
out
that's
real quick. So I want to be careful.
Careful.
If I were to ink this up and I forget the sponge and it's dry, what's gonna happen?
well, ink.
It'll go all over. Anywhere that the stone is dry, the ink is gonna go into. So that's why I just want to be consistent. Notice I'm holding my roller in one hand. So my least dominant hand, I hold it like this, not like that, or like this.
Just so you're at the ready.
Yep. Put my sponge there. 1, 2, 7, 8. And
That was sick.
it started to dry, see? So 8 is about what I can usually get out of a roller.
Yeah.
Again, snappy sponging helps pick up that stuff. And notice all the asphaltum that was still there. It lifted off and it's on my roller. So go over, charge it.
So it traded places,
No, the asphaltum's still there.
but the excess picked up onto your roller.
The ink was attracted to the asphaltum and it stuck to it.
So it's still there, but it's on your roller too.
The excess.
Yeah, okay.
Where it was in the non-image areas, you could see there was some like still kind of in this spot right there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that came off. That rolled up really quickly. It's not totally done. Generally, what you want to look for, find your densest areas, your blacks, and look if you have any of that amber color of the asphaltum. Look for that brown. If it's still brown, you got to keep inking it up. I'm gonna ink it up some more though. And so I'm gonna do it from this direction. So when I do that, notice I go right to the end, you know, not going off of the edge. You get pretty good at just being able to judge. And a lot of people, when they're starting out, they'll make a few little mistakes. They'll do this without doing the lift up and twist. So you wanna up, back, lift, twist. And that just makes sure that you're displacing the ink all the way. Let's see. So I got a little bit of gunk there. You can see where I deleted some information.
So you're gonna buff this out like
Yeah.
that, too?
I can do light snappy rolls if I get some ink in those areas. So if I accidentally over ink this, or if it dries and I don't notice it, or maybe I sponge and I miss a little spot where it's dry, and then I ink it and it gets ink in those areas, I can sponge it real quick and just light snappy roll, and it might pick up some of that ink that was misplaced and put it back on the roller. So I don't want to ink this up anymore. It's kind of, I already over inked it. Okay. So let's get rid of that stuff. And to do that, I'm going to mix up a counter etch solution. Not a counter etch solution, anti-tint solution. So that's why I have this small bowl and a little felt tab. Little felt tabs at each station. Doesn't matter if it's inky or whatever. I need an ounce of gum arabic. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. And I need the acid dropper, not that one. Thank you. And this is what I use phosphoric acid for. So the formula, the ratio that I use is 1 ounce of gum arabic, 5 ounces of water, and 10 to 15 drops of phosphoric acid. Phosphoric acid is a much more mild acid than nitric. This would be one giant block.
No, I print multiple of these on the block, so I can put the paper over it. Instead of having a bunch of little ones, I put them on.
No, I mean, like, is this like one big reduction? Like, is this like are you carving into it? Or?
Yeah, I'm covering it a little bit. I'll come to loop a little bit.
Okay, so this is just a mild etch solution. It's drying. To the stone?
Yeah.
It's just drying.
These are just drier.
That's wet areas.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
that would be nice though.
So take my solution.
Oh my goodness.
And so this is an anti-tint solution. Tinting is when pigment separates from the binder of your ink. And so sometimes, like with colored inks, my water will, if I'm using like magenta, my water will turn pink, but it won't like stain. I won't see it on the stone. It's tinting out. The pigment is tinting out from the binder. And so this is an anti-tint solution, meaning I can use that when it tints out to clean my borders.
I thought tinting was when you add white to pigment.
I think it's just another use for the word. I think it's a different word, like a, same spelling, different meaning.
Maybe it's referring to like the absence of pigment instead of adding white. It's like,
Yeah, I don't know. Good point. Yeah, you're right about that. Tinting out. Yeah, I don't think they would use a different word for that because, tinting is when you add white.
is it the same kind of effect?
No.
No.
It's just, I'm using this because it's kind of abrasive and I can kind of clean my edges. I got a lot of ink on those edges, so maybe I should have beveled a little bit better. And if this isn't working out exactly the way I want to, if I'm still seeing some there, I can use a hot edge to remove it. Or I can use some soapstone.
Your finger's gonna be okay?
Yeah.
You're dipping them in phosphoric acid, so you should not.
It's real mild.
Oh no.
But it's enough to affect the stone. Like what?
Burns fingerprints off.
Hey, maybe that's what he wants.
Don't get me in trouble, okay? I wore goggles for this whole process, and I'm wearing gloves. They're just skin gloves.
Just for the record, OSHA.
Yep. So this is a home. It's soapstone. And this will like resurface the stone, so it's like,
I really like that.
so I can redraw onto it. It polishes the stone at the same time. So it's less abrasive than sandpaper. I could take sandpaper to it if I wanted to. I can make minor deletions in the image.
I'm gonna do reduction with that. Is that pigmented at all, or is it just like a rock? Like,
It's
is
just,
it like sand, like,
it's you know, I don't know, I think it's just pumice, a type of
That's
pumice.
what I was gonna guess, yeah.
But we call it soapstone or snake slip. Snake slip, it's kind of cool name.
Doesn't pumice usually float though?
Yeah, you're right. Maybe it's soapstone? Soapstone is a type of stone.
It's what?
It is a type of stone, right? Soapstone?
I feel like that's a nickname for a stone, probably.
Is it?
I like
So that looks pretty good. I might do a little more. So the gum Arabic is keeping it so that the non-image areas that I'm scraping away are